So, Lauren, tell us a bit about how your road is with the therapies and the rehab that Sean has undertaken since the strokes and the hospitalisation. And
Yeah. Yep. We it went into inpatient rehab in the brain rehab section of the hospital after the strokes. So it basically began as soon as possible. They like to get them up and moving and trying to do those things. So he started with speech pathology, physio, occupational therapy. And then Kim, you came in later down the track. I think it was probably about 6 months after we were home. So from the get-go, we were pushed to start those therapies to help him achieve maximal, results.
And how did you find Kim?
How did we find Kim? How did we find you, Kim?
Through a disability expo. I was an exhibitor in Brisbane.
That's right.
And support coordinator.
Yes.
Connected that.
Put us on. Yeah. Yeah. So it was, just by chance, really. Yeah. And what a blessing that's been. We couldn't have.
And and then obviously Kim spoke to me in great detail, and I spoke to you in turn, and
exactly. And then we connected with you as well, Mark. Yeah, absolutely.
So, just give us an idea of how it was for you and the family to learn how to not only to deal with the situation, but also how to to become more supportive and what sort of strategies that you took into place for yourselves as well.
Yeah, well, a lot of things have had to change. And, I was never one for IT prior to any of all this or accessibility. I had no idea the amount of, features and accessibility was out there that was going to be able to help Sean on this journey. We have had to learn through each different channel. Through physio, we've been trying to work that hand and learn, as you were saying, Mark, learn to reuse that as much as possible and to do things that he wouldn't have thought that he could do with it. So, gripping, those sorts of things. And they've become, now a big thing with his phone and, lots of little things around the house.
Yeah.
The speech therapists teaching him with his expressive aphasia to be able to communicate again. It's been massive. And then yourself and Kim, really teaching him that independence. He can now, go out for a walk on his own. That was such a big goal. It was such a big goal for Sean to be able to order a coffee and just go for a walk on his own. He wanted to be able to do those things. And, he can do that now. And again, using his phone and being able to watch and listen to the TV, that was massive for Sean as well. So, without these therapies, we wouldn't be where we are today.
And you find now that Sean is now, in a way, more independent and now is contributing to the family unit as well.
Absolutely, yeah. 100%. He can now do a lot for the kids. So he can take them down to the park now. Whereas, prior to all that, everything was still on me and then me guiding Sean to the park to be involved in, a family outing. Whereas now he can say in the afternoon when the kids come home, okay, let's go to the park. And he can just walk down to the park and take them. He can put the TV on for them and he can put the movies on that they like. He can do all those things, again, that he couldn't do before. So that it all makes such a big difference.
Yeah. I've seen too, like with Sean's right hand and his fingers, like there's been improvement.
Absolutely.
Continuing to improve.
Yep.
And the importance of touch, like, when the cane's colliding with something, which is what it's meant to do, to protect his body, say in a shopping centre environment, and the importance of connecting, not just through his feet, but through that that left hand,
Yeah.
which he's using to operate the cane with.
That's
But
right.
then it's like, oh, what have I touched? And I remember then speaking into that, saying, Sean, we need to stop here. We need to actually check out what we've connected with.
Yeah.
And even his reflexes, his capacity to stop and not continue to move into that space. So it's just so much that he's achieving and improving.
Absolutely.
Because it means, Mark, that, Sean's popping his cane into his right hand and he has grip in that,
Yeah.
and the finger movements and things that are occurring now too.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how readily Sean will just stop now and go, oh, what is that? Check it out. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the definitely that's now putting Sean in good stead for future activities and goals that to move on, and obviously being an inclusive member of the society in working and
That's right.
working with the family and so it's grateful to be a part of the whole process, and thank you. Kim, do you want to ask, is there any questions from your point?
Have we ever done, we did a little bit of blindfold.
We did.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah.
Sure.
So that was all part of the awareness rehab.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Yep, we did. We did that with the initial training early in the piece, and I had my cane then as well.
Right.
Yeah.
And we did an afternoon session where I was blindfolded, and we did the driveway, and we went and headed towards our local park. And it was so disorientating. I found it really difficult. It's such a massive sense to have taken from you. And even with memory mapping, even though I knew where I was, I was so cautious. I was so worried about falling over or, stepping on a stone or tripping over something. That I was so slow, and it was just a totally different experience.
So out of all the rehab and processes that you've gone through with Sean and the therapists and, you've worked through for the last 3 years now. So what would you say is the biggest take that you've got from seeing Sean improve? What would be the biggest thing that you've seen?
The biggest thing, oh my goodness. I mean, like we've said, there's been so many things, but it's the independence and that ability now to not be scared to head out into the community and go and do what he wants to do. I honestly didn't know that he would get to that point. Although I believed it, it's still hard to, at that point in time, think that's where he's going to be, 2 years down the track.
Yeah.
So that's been by far the biggest,
Now, I've got to ask this because I always ask people, all my clients this now, or employers as well, when we do workplace clients. Now, what was the thing that you learnt the most?
Oh, I've learned so many things as well. But again, it's just like everybody said, is that anything really is possible.
Yeah.
And if you have the right attitude and you're willing to learn.
So resilience.
You can achieve whatever it is you put your mind to. And you just don't have to, accept that this is what it is going to be, that you can change. And if you're giving the right tools, you can do anything.
And Lauren, your mindset is a big factor, because at times Mark and I do encounter people where it can be the family members that are really challenged in that space around their loved one and thinking,
of course,
he's going to walk out the front and walk down to the park and get there on his own, and what's going to happen in between?
And it is scary, but you need to be supportive of that. And, that's one thing I never wanted for Sean to have taken from him is his independence. That's so important. And if you put yourself in that position as well, you think about how that would make you feel, So you've got to be supportive, even though it may be scary.
Yeah. I commend you on the journey too.
Thank
you know, and in your positive attitude and embracing openly those, moments for Sean and
Thank you.
Yeah,
it's been a journey.
Yeah, bless you, lovely.
Thank you both and allowing us to do so.
Welcome.
Thank you, Lauren, and to Sean as well. Yeah, such a beautiful couple.
Thank you.